This podcast is made possible by the support of patrons like you. Thanks for your support. Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast, a podcast about the stories and relationships board games create. I'm your host, Roy Canny, and with me as always is Matt.
Hello.
And today we have a special guest, Mark Streed from Board Game Corner. What's going on, man?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Awesome. Well, Mark is a returning guest to the show. He's been on the show a ton of times. But for those people who don't know who you are or what you do, Mark, just give them a little rundown real quick.
Sure. So I am the host of Board Game Corner, and we started on the Dice Tower about 5 years ago now. And we've just grown ever since. And I always like to kid with Tom about, so how do you preference Board Game Corner? I always think of Board Game Corner as the Dice Tower is CBS and we're CSI. That kind of thing. So we're just a show that lives under the Dice Tower network. And, it started to evolve more beyond that. I'm now more of a permanent thing on the Dice Tower stuff. I'm starting to do all the Dice Tower previews and things like that. So I'm super excited, and I get to do more with those guys. And I'm going to be doing a show with Tom and some other potential guest. I'm not going to spoil it yet. So not Tom, but Z. Z and I are doing a show called Tower Talk. And we're going to have a third chair in that show, so it'll be pretty fun. So I look forward to telling folks more about that when it happens. But you can find all our stuff on the Dice Tower for video-wise, but we're on social media and all that stuff as well.
And you're definitely Dice Tower official now because you have your own dice cartoon of yourself, four-sided die.
I'm pretty excited about that, actually.
And the internet outrage that came out when they first revealed it, and they're like, "This isn't Mark Street. It doesn't have the token Mark Street hat." Like everybody was like, "Where's the hat, man? Where's the hat?" They had to go back and redo it with the illustrator.
It was awesome. Yeah, and initially I didn't even think about the hat because I was so excited about all the other things because I've lost a ton of weight. So Tom had them invert the dice, so it's super skinny. And it had 4 corners for Board Game Corner, 4 sides, and I had the red shoes on that I running shoes, and I wasn't even thinking about the hat. And then I started to get a ton of email and instant messages from people. Where's the hat? I'm like, oh yeah, where is the hat? So,
awesome.
But yeah, it was a fun process, and Tom really did it up right. He went and had the designer.
Oh yeah,
revamp it and do a really cool version of my hat. And
if you watch the live video, you can actually see him peeking out from the corner on our video stream here, which is pretty cool. Awesome. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Gamma and some of the new games that are coming out there, and Mark's experience with working at Gamma, and then also about Mark's Kickstarter preview videos he's been doing and what the difference is in that, and doing reviews and stuff like that. One funny thing I do want to mention, because Jeff in chat's talking about it, is I posted on Instagram right before the show what I should have in the background behind me, and so I was like, first person who comments gets to pick what's going to be on the green screen behind me, and he was like, oh, let's do Dinosaur Island, and I'm like, do you mean the game or dinosaurs on an island? He's like, I mean dinosaurs playing Dinosaur Island on an island. So literally that's what I have behind me. I don't know if people can actually see it. I'm in the way, but it's silly. But yeah, super silly. But yeah, just having fun stuff like that. I might do that in the future, being like, hey, first person to comment, I'm just going to make something up and put it behind me. So that might be fun for future shows. But yeah, we want to get into some news. One big thing that I'm super excited about and has been blowing up like crazy is that we're doing a Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea giveaway, which is insane because we're giving away the core set. We're giving away Order and Chaos, the expansion pack. We're giving away the map. Let me see if I can turn my camera around. It's all sitting over here. Oh, it looks weird with the green screen thing going on. But everything for the game, basically. It doesn't come with pre-painted minis, but it's basically everything else you could ever want for Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. And this is a game that I played a ton. Matt's played it with me, and we played it during the Dice Tower Live. We had a blast playing that game, and basically everybody I've played it with has really enjoyed it. But if you want to sign up, we're using Gleam to do it. I did a whole video about it, but if you check in the description, the Gleam link is there. And you guys can sign up to try to get a copy of all that Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea goodness, because it's gonna be crazy.
It's an awesome contest, man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you could tell from the video, but I was like pumped. I was like, yes. So
it's awesome, so awesome. I had lunch with those guys at Gamelin at the airport on our last day at GAM. It was awesome. We talked about some fun and upcoming stuff I can't wait for. So
yeah, Michael always has some crazy stuff coming down the pipe, and Nathan, who works with him, he's the most energetic guy in the industry, I'm pretty sure.
Right? He's awesome.
Yes.
It's so much fun.
Matt, you have an experience with meeting Nathan, don't you?
Yes, it was at GenCon, and I was just standing around the Galen booth, and I was just like, "Hey man, are you Nate from like the internet?" And he's like, "I mean, I guess." Who's asking? And I was like, "Oh, I'm Matt from Epic Gaming Night." And he's just like, "Dude," and he like just comes in and grabs me and gives me a hug. And like, if you've never met Nate, Nate's like maybe 6'5", probably somewhere around 250. He's a big dude. Like, he's just like, "Oh, cool," and I'm like, I haven't been manhandled like this in quite some time. This is insane.
That's awesome.
But he is a raw bundle of energy, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, last time at GenCon, he was literally like throwing Gamelin dice at me. He's like, "Take these Gamelin dice." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man." It was so much fun. Awesome. Well, I guess we can talk about some other news. Make sure to sign up for that to see if you can win the copy of Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. We're going to be running it for a couple months, but there's all sorts of ways to get entries, which is really cool that you can do with Gleam.
That's awesome.
Which will help Epic Gaming Night out, but also like there's things like, oh, go watch the review for Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea so you can learn more about it, or hey, what's your favorite Gamelin game and stuff like that. So trying to bring more spotlight to their games as well. And the link for people listening to the audio will be in the show notes for that, and then also if you're watching the video, it'll be in the description of the video. It should be in the description right now, I think, even if you're during the live thing. But continue to watch the rest of the show with us, because Mark's here. You got to stay around.
It's going to be awesome.
Also, low-key, real quick, before we get to the rest of the news, it is storming very badly outside, so if I disappear, my house is probably on fire from lightning.
Oh, that's nice.
I could actually hear rumbling, so...
Yeah, it's rough.
I wonder who it's closer to, if it's closer to me. It's kind of faintly in the background, so I can hear the thunder, the same thunder, from you, like, 30 minutes away. That's going towards my house.
Fantastic.
So we're going to talk about a couple other games here. I don't know if you've heard or thought anything about these, Mark, but the first one is the Magic the Gathering Heroes of Dominaria board game.
Right.
I don't know if you got a chance to see this at all, but it's supposed to be, there's not a whole lot of information, but it's supposed to be a new Magic the Gathering themed board game coming out from WizKids, right?
Yep.
And it's going to be more of like that Lords of Waterdeep-y, like Euro-y type of game, from what I've heard, because there's going to be like resource gathering and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see that style of game in the Magic the Gathering universe.
I agree. I did not get to see a lot at Gamma. I don't think I saw anything for that at Gamma, actually. I was pretty busy, though.
Yeah.
I didn't get to just hang out in the hall like I usually do and talk to everybody. But I saw some stuff that I'm pretty excited for, and definitely one thing that I'm really excited to talk about and do a Dice Tower preview for. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to talk about during the news segment is that there's a new legendary expansion that was announced, World War Hulk. Right. Holy smokes, this is the 16th expansion for Marvel insane. Legendary.
It's awesome.
It's so crazy. Like, I really love Marvel Legendary. I know some people are like, oh, I like this game or that game better, but I've had a blast playing it, and I have most of the expansions for the game, but it's like they just keep on coming. This is another big box, but it's supposed to be the biggest expansion they've made yet. It's supposed to have 400 cards in the expansion. And it was funny because I was like trying to get more information on this and like figure some stuff out. And people were like, since it's the biggest one ever, is it going to be like the last one ever? They're like, is this going to be the last Marvel Legendary expansion? And in the comments, they're like, what % chance do you think it is it's going to be the last one? And I saw some people, or one of the developers or something, or someone who works with Upper Deck, like right after that, they're like, 0% chance. We already have a game coming out in the spring, or in the fall of 2018, and a game coming out in the spring of 2019. And I'm like, holy crap, Marvel Legendary is never ending.
It's not.
So, but it'll be cool to see all the stuff for World War Hulk. I mean, you'll get to see like probably Hulk in the armor like in Thor and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it'll be pretty epic. And you know,
awesome. Yeah.
There's so much Marvel Legendary. I mean, some people would be like, "Oh, they're done. They should be done because there's too much." I don't care. Just keep coming out with it. Like, I'll continue to buy it. I don't care.
I mean, honestly, yeah, dude, card art is so good. Like, why?
Yeah,
why would they not? Yeah, it's so good. Anywho,
I'm way behind on it, but I've always enjoyed what I've played. So,
I mean, you know, it's with this really unpopular IP. Like nobody really cares about Marvel or anything like that.
Cares about that. Yeah.
By the way, did you guys see the Infinity Wars trailer?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was insane. I was like, holy crap, I can't wait to see all of the different characters for Infinity War like all coming together.
Did you see the little parody comic that was going around today? Or
I saw the one that you posted or whatever, with the poor puppy dog.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I hope they make Thanos super brutal. Like it'll be good.
To, right?
So I want to get you guys' opinion. Who do you think is most likely to die?
I think obviously Cap is there's a good chance there, but I think it might be interesting. They might actually kill off like Spider-Man, but then find a way to bring him back at the end or something crazy like that.
I mean, the time stone's there. I mean, nothing's off the table, right?
Yeah, so I think there could be lots of death, and then we got almost everybody back, kind of thing.
Who do you think's gonna die, Matt?
I mean, I'm leaning towards Thor. Just for a couple of random reasons. I just feel like Thor is one of those characters who, I guess not many people really care about, but he's definitely big in his own. Well, I mean, like, okay, so comparatively, right? I feel like when you're looking at like the Marvel people, everybody's like, oh yeah, man, Iron Man, Captain America, all this stuff. You don't see anybody's like, dude, Thor's my favorite Avenger.
I don't know, man. Thor's been one of my favorites for a long time.
Well, okay, let me preface that by saying the people I talk to are the people who don't read comics and don't necessarily do a whole lot of stuff. So, like, they're looking at it from a very casual perspective, and they're like, dude, the Hulk's where it's at. And it's like, I mean, I agree, the Hulk is awesome, but,
But with that last Thor movie.
The last Thor movie was awesome.
Yeah, the last Thor movie was so good.
It was so good.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I've always been a huge Thor fan, man. I've always loved that character. It's been so cool.
Nice.
The only reason that I sort of think that is because in the trailers they're not showing him with the spoiler one eye.
True.
So it's either a way to prevent spoilers for Thor Ragnarok since it came out sort of recently, or Thor dies immediately and they're like, all right, that guy was a powerhouse. We need to get him back, and they go back and they have him, and then maybe Mjolnir's back, and it's just like, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting either way. I mean,
it'll be pretty fun.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, that's definitely one that like we're gonna have to get a sitter. Me and my wife are gonna have to go to because she likes the Marvel films a lot too. So it's like we're gonna have to make it happen.
Absolutely, man. That's just you got to go opening night because there's gonna be spoilers.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Everywhere.
Yep.
Oh.
Awesome. So the next one I want to talk to is one that I don't know basically anything about, but I think that's interesting is that that IDW is making Death Note Confrontation, and Death Note is an anime that's basically about this kid who gets a book that he can write people's names in and they just die. But it's supposed to, I think this game's supposed to be like deduction and things like that, where one player can play as like Light or whatever who's trying to find the guy and stuff like that. So I think it could be really interesting. And one thing I've talked about on the show is that they should make more like good board games around like different animes and things like that. So I just thought it was interesting that IDW is bringing this out. I don't know if you got a chance to see anything more about this, Mark. Or anything.
I did not see what you said. That's what I know.
Gotcha. Cool. We got the cliff notes.
I wish I'd had time. I wish I'd had time to go really spend in each of the booths, but I just didn't this time.
Nice. Do you know anything about Death Note, Matt? Or like the anime itself, or Matt's like, oh no, I'm talking to other people. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, I guess we can get into a little bit of what we've been playing a tiny bit. Haven't really played a whole lot, but hey, Mark, did you get a chance to play any games?
Yeah. So these days I play a ton of prototypes, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of actual games. So one of the games that, well, I'll definitely tease that I played is the Smiths of Winterforge. Really like this game. It's actually the game I was supposed to be demoing for Passport while I was at Gamma. Really like this game. It's like this Euro with truly like this Ameritrash topping on top, and basically you're all dwarven. What do you call it? You all have your own forge, and you're all trying to make different weapons and armor and amulets. And the king has given you a special recipe that whoever first finishes the king's recipe will cause the game to trigger. Oh, and nice. the cool thing is that it's a worker placement at its heart. And instead of pulling workers from the board to the table, you actually have them in this like center city area. And you actually have to use actions to move them around as if they're traveling and doing different things in the city. And you move to spots where you can get different types of material for the recipes or different armor and different amulets, things that you're going to make. And you get the different materials, and each of the recipes have, like, oh, this needs 2 metals, this needs, whatever. And when you grab those, then they tuck. You commit them to a recipe, and they tuck under the card. And your character has stats, and everybody's character starts a little bit differently, but they all have generally the same stats. But you can also go to the tavern and hire people to work in your forge, which gives you pluses as well. So your stats and people working your forge give you pluses to your dice rolls, and the dice rolls are all dictated by the materials that you've added to these recipes. And you roll the dice, and the recipe has a number on it you're trying to hit. And if you fail, then you check your character pluses and the people you've hired. And if you still don't have enough to pull off that particular item, then you get a +1 marker to that recipe, which means that you've been working on it, you're getting better each time, and every time you fail, you get another +1 to it. So it gets easier every time you try to build it. Gotcha. And the big chunky dice give this real, like, I'm pounding the metal kind of feel. You roll these guys, and you're trying to achieve this, and but really that's the game. Is you're going around, you're trying to get the recipes, you're trying to get the materials to make these items, you're trying to build yourself up big enough that you can actually maybe fulfill the king's recipe, which is a high number. And then there's also a banking mechanic where you can get loans from the bank, so you can buy more recipes. And every one of these spots that you can travel to have a prime area that you can land on, and they'll give you additional bonuses when you're doing those actions. But that doesn't prevent other people from going and doing those actions as well. So it's got this really it feels very rich. The artwork is amazing, and you really feel like you're crafting something in the game, which it's really, really cool. And then there's expansions for alleyways, like you go to the Thieves Guild, and you can go off-site and go to these alleys and do seedy things. But yeah, I really like this game.
Nice.
It's really well done. So that's probably the most recent thing I've been playing. I played I just lost the name. What's Ryan's Raven Games? Their latest space one.
Empires of the Void 2.
It's Void 2, yeah. So I played that a 3-player when I was in Arizona, and nice. I really liked it as a 3-player game. I think above 3 players, it would start to get maybe a little long. I haven't tried it, right? So I don't know for sure, but 3 players felt like the sweet spot to me. That was really fun as well. I only played it once, so I don't have as much, detail on it. And then the Awakening Lair from Rather Dashing Games. I love this little game. So it's a dungeon crawl, and it's you lay these cards out in a huge row, and every card you're stepping through the dungeon to get to the monstrous terror at the top. And he's all asleep, and you're trying to deal with his minions before he wakes up. And if he wakes up, he starts his march to move out of the dungeon. And as he moves down the rooms, he drags everybody with him, including you and all the monsters. And then you get to a point where there's like 6 or 7 monsters, and yeah, it's pretty brutal. It's one of those brutal games. You really have to work together collectively to pull this game off. There's a lot of fun mechanics that happen there, and you have cards that can add to like magic and items, and you have to be some choices to be made because the card will have both things on it. You're like, oh,
which game was that?
Awakening Lair from Rather Dashing Games.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I really, really like this game. But those are probably the latest 3, other than lots of prototypes that I've been playing.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Me and Matt got a chance to play Dead of Winter: The Long Night.
Yeah.
If playing it's what you want to call it. We haven't played Dead of Winter in quite a while, and we always talk about wanting to play it. And we were trying to get a group together, and some people backed out, but we were able to play 3 players, me, Matt, and Hector. And we didn't realize, but we picked a scenario that was like storyline, like 3 different part campaign sort of thing. Like we didn't even realize at the beginning. It's like, oh, when you get to this part, read a passage out of the book, and we're like, well, that's kind of cool. But we didn't realize that like then we had to continue to do more things, and then we had to continue to do more things, and we're just like, ah.
And it was all on like a super tight timetable. So like the first bit of the campaign was like, okay, well you need to have double the amount of food per player in each of these things, and you have 2 rounds to do it. And it's like, okay, cool. And then you do that, and then it immediately jumps off to the next thing, and it's like, hey man, move that round track back up to 2. Now you need to assault the bandit hideout. Yeah. And I was like, what? And it's just like, oh Lord,
that's awesome.
And then once you got to that, it was just like, hey man, once you're done with that, read another thing. And we didn't even get that far. We were just demolished.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward because it's like since it doesn't tell, like we didn't know exactly how many parts there were to this thing. It's like, but do I need to make sure I have my secret objective finished before I even finish the first part, or do I need to like finish the first part and hopefully the game continues? Because like since it's that semi-cooperative, like you have to have your part done before the game ends. If you don't know exactly when the game's going to end, it just adds a whole new dynamic to it. You're just like, yeah. Wait a minute, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let me try to get my thing. And then it's like, but wait, if we don't do this, we're going to run out of time and we're going to lose. And it's like, ah!
Right. That was the thing. It created such this interesting dichotomy because we were sitting there and we were like, man, we just got to blow everything just so we can get this stuff done because we only got 2 rounds. So we just like blew through like most of our cards, and then it's like, all right, but wait. And you're like, literally all I had in my hand was fuel. I was like, I can't eat. I can't participate in literally any of the things we're doing. I can just make sure all my people get there safely. And it was just, oh man.
It made me so sad because like basically we had mathed it out and we're like, it's impossible for us to win. Like it's literally impossible for us to win. I'm like, but at least I can complete my secret objective because my secret objective was to have at least 2 characters and then each one of them has a weapon. So I'm like, if I find a weapon and I get the weapon and I have this, I can have my characters good. So I got both my characters equipped. I was like, cool. At least when this game ends, I can be like, well, I had my secret objective. Even though we lost, at least I had something, you know.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, well, the next objective is we got to get characters with weapons to the bandit camp. And I'm like, well, I can do that. Even though we're not going to win, I'll move my one character that has a weapon, or one of my characters that has a weapon, over to the bandit camp. Roll the dice, get a tooth, my character dies. Now I don't have 2 characters, and now I'm no longer qualifying for my secret objective. And I'm just like, thanks, Dead of Winter. Thanks, Isaac Vega. Come on.
Come on. Yeah, that's funny. Because I think we were talking right before you went over to play.
Yeah.
And I was definitely jealous because it's been a long time since I played.
Yeah, and the Long Night adds some definitely interesting aspects with like the bandits and the upgrades
Absolutely.
you can get, and it's just cool to have like all new characters with all new crossroads, you know.
Yeah.
So
I really, I gotta first play it way back. Like at least 6 months or more before it was released.
Yeah.
I flew out and spent some time at Plaid Hat's offices and hung out with those guys, and it was really fun because I got to see stuff being developed, and but that was one of the things we spent some time playing. It was really, really fun.
Darth in chat's talking about being anxious for the next game in the series. That I think Jerry said a little bit about it because were you here during that episode when Jerry was on that? It was so funny because Jerry slipped up. If you go back and listen to the episode with Jerry slipped up and like actually gave it a name. And then Rob just kept repeating it over and over again, and Jerry's like, "No, I mean, it's unnamed." And Rob just kept saying it over and over again, and I'm just like, he's like, "So what was it called?" It was called this, and we're like, "I'm like, Rob, drop it, Rob."
It was so good. I happened to be at a concert out of town, and around like 11 o'clock, Rob texted me like, "Dude, the Lost in Space Crossroads game coming out this year." And I was just like, yeah.
He's like, accidentally confirmed on a live show.
I was like, oh
so
man, this
awesome.
is great.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like Plaid Hat's going to start doing a lot more of the Fantasy Flight style announcing stuff like a week before GenCon sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it'll definitely be cool to see as the year winds on. Because like at Gamma, Fantasy Flight didn't really have a whole lot to talk about except for like...
Right.
Like, hey, we've got Star Wars Legion. Asmodee did announce a game that I'm really excited about that I should have put in the news, but I don't know if you've seen the Choose Your Own Adventure game.
Oh, yes, I walked by it. I didn't get a demo of it or anything, but I saw it. Yeah,
it's legitimately like called Choose Your Own Adventure. Has the branding, like it's the IP and everything.
It looks awesome.
I forgot what the name of it was exactly because it's
I can't remember now.
It's basically like this like mystery like house or whatever, something like that. But it's kind of crazy because like you play through a deck of cards and you're looking at the cards and it like looks like a Choose Your Own Adventure book with like black and white art and everything. Like it is 100% Choose Your Own Adventure book. But I listened to Brian talk with the Board Game Geek guys about it, and it looks pretty cool. So I'm definitely excited. I
can't wait.
I'm a huge fan of the Choose Your Own Adventure book, so it'll be really cool to have a game that's like actually branded as Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yep, those books really. When I was a kid, oh my gosh, I had to have every one of them. I just plowed through them so many times.
I think it's interesting. I wonder how it's going to work because when I was on the cruise a while ago, there was a game that some of the game devs were running specifically for people called Parsley, which was basically choose your own adventure, but they had a book and they were running you through a scenario in like a big group circle.
Yeah.
So they would literally tell you and then point to the next person in line to make a decision so that you were collectively as this whole sort of running through this choose your own adventure thing, and it was really interesting. So I'm very curious to see how it's going to work in like an actual sort of board game format.
Yep, me too.
From the video I saw, like you can get items that'll help you with different like tests, but then you can like literally just make choices on what you want to do, and it'll just the path will branch in the different things because you're working through a deck of cards, and it'll be like, oh, if you make this choice, you go this way and start doing these things. If you make this choice, you go this way and start doing these things. And one thing they did mention is so many of the Choose Your Own Adventure games, like or actual books, were like there's only like one real path, and all the divergents like kind of kill you. He did say that they did try to make it a little bit more branching than that, so it's like there's multiple outcomes and multiple things that can happen, but there also are like, oh, you died or you screwed up, you made the wrong decision, dead end. And they actually have mechanics put in place where when that sort of thing happens, you get to take a step back. And they said basically like if you remember, you turn to this page, but you keep your finger back in the book back here. It's like, oh, I chose, oh no, dead end. Let me go back to the last page I was at, sort of thing. But they actually have mechanics that like penalize you for like messing up and things like that. So it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess we can go ahead and get into our topic a little bit about Gamma and about Mark Streed. Tell us a little bit more about what he does. So tell us about your trip to Gamma, Mark.
Oh man, it was so crazy. You know, they moved it to Reno this year for starters, and there's just not a lot to do in Reno. But the resort we were at was the Peppermill Resort, and it was really cool. Everything it's a bit of a maze to get your way around in there, but it was a really nice place. It was a great venue. So and we lots of great food every night, but we did go to a place called Stonehouse, I think it was called. It was a converted old home, and it had some of the best food that we had the entire trip. Just amazing. Everything was like super fresh, super homemade. It was just fantastic. So I did that with Talks from Chris Happen, Passport Games, and Chaz Marler from Paradise Paradise. We all went, hung out, and had food that night. It was just fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the event though, I was there. I had to split time, so I was up in the suite with Tom and the guys. I filmed a little bit here and there with them. I did a live stream with Tom, and then I would run down to the booth, and I would spend the rest of the afternoon in the booth helping out Passport, just show off their games. And I was there really to show off and demo Winterforge. But it was interesting because Gamma is all about publishers, retailers getting together and distributors and so forth. So
it's definitely not like a public convention.
No,
it's like
it's not
for
like a public
people in
convention.
the industry or
It
stores
totally
and
is.
things like that.
And we were set up to demo these games, but nobody really wanted to sit down and play. They just had a lot of questions. So it was mostly giving people overviews. And, we had the latest version of Takedo up, and it had all the new artwork. And so lots of interest around that. And then, let's see. So just to give you what Passport was doing, here is Winterforge.
Nice.
This is the game I was talking about. So that's pretty cool.
You got to have some dwarves, man.
Right, gotta have dwarves. And this is Dead Man's Doubloons. This was the other game we were showing, right? And then they have this really interesting little trick-taking game. And what's cool here is that you are bribing each other using your victory points in this game.
Oh, nice.
So some pretty interesting stuff going on there too. So so I was helping Passport demo that stuff and kind of talk about it, and they just needed a hand, and it was my way to Gamma because I wasn't sure how things were going to go and who all was going yet. And so Scott Morris came to me early before anybody else asked. I said, sure, I'll go. So it was a lot of fun because really, usually if I'm in a booth, I'm in the Dice Tower booth, right?
Right.
And it's a whole different experience to be in there with like a publisher, who is, they're the Passport is the publishing arm of GTS and so forth. So in dealing with the store owners and such, it was just a very different experience, right? Yeah, because sure. I don't usually I'm just dealing with publishers and we're doing interviews or we're just chatting and so forth. So I had a lot of fun. It was just a different side that I don't usually get to dive into, right? And just kind of talking about some of the Passport offerings was really fun. And it was just really surprising. They really see that Takedo is one of their mainstay games in the stores, and there was lots of interest around the new version, and people were very excited to get it. And then of course whatever all the new offerings were. So and then like I said, I got to spend time with the Dice Tower guys, and we went out a couple times for food and hung out, and but I was on camera a few times with them, and like I said, Tom and I did a live stream while we were there together. That's where Tom first showed me my new dice guy with the hat, which was really fun. He surprised me while I was there, so that was fun. And so it's definitely, things are moving. Like I'm definitely finding that being in this board game media thing is starting to turn into a full-time job, which is awesome because I don't make anywhere near the money I made in the tech industry, but I am so much more happy. I'm just ecstatic. I get to hang out with all these amazing people, great designers, and it's just an amazing experience all the way around. And I have not been, I literally have not been this happy in a long time. So, and the other cool thing is that I teamed up with Chaz quite a bit while we were there. Chaz and I did several live streams on his channel as well, and we were like, hey, let's do a quarter chat while we're here. So nice. Literally like the day before Blender was coming out, Chaz and I that night we quickly filmed one, and it was all about games that are punishing, and it was just, we were trying to brainstorm what was the game that we felt like not just that players can punish you, but the game punishes you, right? That isn't a co-op. Games that, it's like, man, I don't even need an adversary because the game is just killing me without that. So, and obviously there's tons of co-ops that fit that bill. That's the low hanging fruit. So
Dead of Winter? No, I'm just kidding.
Right? Yeah, Dead of Winter's one. The Grizzled, right?
Oh man. Yeah, the Grizzled's rough. Was the Grizzled even winnable before the expansion came out? I'm pretty sure the expansion.
We won it like one time. Before.
Out of how many games? Are you sure that you played the rules right? I'm pretty sure that everybody's thing about the Grizzled is if you win the game, you're not playing it right.
I played it with Rodney. So.
Oh, if you played it with Rodney, then it had to be right. So
that's right. So that was cool. But what Chaz and I finally came up with, the competitive game, was Robo Rally, because this game truly will punish you. I mean, I've seen people in this game sit here and they're just spinning, and they tried their best to get out of it, and it just didn't work, right? And they're just sitting there. Well, I'm going nowhere.
Dude, I love Robo Rally.
We were talking too about how Chaz and I had done these experiments, right? Where I'm gonna randomly program my cards and see what happens, and there wasn't a big difference sometimes.
Whatever, you guys need to get good. Like I can program Robo Rally and like go across the board and go where I want. My main thing is like when other people mess me up, but sometimes I try to calculate for that as well. So
I don't know. So that's the game that we collectively picked together.
Nice.
And Chaz has some great. You have to watch it because Chaz. I can't remember his quote, but it was hilarious. His quote about this game. So, so we did, and then like I said, Chaz and I did like 2 live streams on his channel, which were really fun. And I was bouncing around all over the place. I did Dice Tower stuff. I did stuff with Chaz. I did stuff with James Hudson from
Druid City Games.
Wow, Druid City Games. Wow, that was terrible. From Druid City Games, and I did a little video bit with him on his stuff. So I was like all over the place. It was really fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we covered a bunch of the questions about Gamma. Are there any specific games that you saw, maybe with whatever free time you actually had, that stood out to you or you're excited for that's going to be coming out of Gamma?
So this is one that I just got today that's going to be a Dice Tower preview that they were showing. And this is coming from... I'm working with James Hudson on this one. This was with the Sideshow and...
Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Court of the Dead.
Yeah. It looks crazy.
Yeah, this game is super cool, man.
And aren't the miniatures made by, like, a company that, like, works with Disney and a bunch of other people and stuff like that, too?
Yeah, I don't know. So it's USAopoly, right? They're doing the prototype that came from there, and... I don't know the full-on details of who all worked on it, but I got to talk to the designer. Got kind of the rundown. It's going to be a Dice Tower preview, and it looks amazing. It's got a super dark theme, of course. I mean, it definitely, it's not for if you're not into dark games. This is not for you. But this game, I'm super stoked for because it just looks really rich. And a lot of neat things going on. So we'll see. I haven't played it yet, so I can't speak to gameplay. But I have high hopes as being one of our top Dice Tower previews that we've done so far. So, so look for that. That was one. And there was a bunch of stuff. Did you see the Thanos game?
Thanos Rising or whatever.
Rising?
Have you seen pictures of that,
oh my God.
Matt?
No,
it's got like a giant statue of like Thanos as part of the game.
Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome. And he rotates and turns, and you have to be careful. I don't know how the game, all the mechanics, right? But certain bad things happen as he turns towards you and so forth. So I'm really interested to play this game. It looked really cool.
Yeah, at first I was like, oh man, is that going to be like a not so great like mass market game? It looks really cool. I might get it just because it's Thanos and Marvel. But then I've actually heard some good things about it from a few of the people that have messed around with it, and it's supposed to be like a punishing cooperative game. So
absolutely. Yep. So I'm excited to get my hands on that one for sure. So that was cool. And one game that Sam comes to me, right? Sam Healy, and he's like, dude, you got to go check out this game. It's prime for a Dice Tower preview. And I talked to them about you already. I said, okay, I'll go check it out. And I go over there, and I don't have the company name handy, but they're going to be going to Kickstarter. and it's a war game. It's like your kind of typical war game. You have to measure out stuff, and you do these battles and stuff. But what you do is you get a regular potato, and you attach all these armaments to the potato.
I saw that.
Yeah, and you lay out everything and all your weapons and stuff, and you do battles back and forth with these potatoes.
It comes with weapons, but you have to provide your own potatoes to use as your mechs basically to go fight each other.
Head war game, right? You're putting all these pieces on them. It was just so novel. I was like, this is awesome, right? So that was pretty cool. And,
I can see that going very well for a family game night, where when you get done, you're like, okay, now we cut up the potatoes and make French fries. Everything's fine.
Right. It just was super novel. I hadn't seen anything like that before. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. It was just really fun. Right.
What was the potato game called? Do you remember the name of it, or?
You know what? I can look it up real quick. Let me see if I can find it. If I have it handy here.
But yeah, it definitely looks like pretty crazy.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, I should have it here. Hold on. Just give me a minute.
So everybody online currently on Facebook is doing this test to see what gamer type they are, or what kind of games they like. So everybody's filling it out. And Mark doesn't like fun, is what I learned. That's what I learned.
Whatever.
So
no, I thought mine was pretty accurate, right? Because it's 99% immersive.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's totally up my alley.
Yeah, yours were you like thematic games. That was just basically it. Thematic games that aren't necessarily super strategic. So
okay, so here's the game. This is the potato game.
How do you say that name?
I don't know. That's why I'm showing. So let me give you a little quick look at the. So here is a bunch of the parts.
Oh,
all the different pieces.
Yeah, it just comes with a bunch of weapons you can push into the potato. Right? That's awesome.
You push into it, and then here is the potato. Right? Look at this thing. Isn't that awesome?
For the people that are watching the audio show, it's literally just a potato standing up with just a bunch of plastic guns shoved into it, armor plates shoved into it. So
yeah, just square armor plates.
It's a square armor plate.
They're not connected.
It's got tread.
Oh, cool! It has tank treads on the bottom for the movement.
Isn't that awesome?
Gun on its head. That's great.
Yeah, I love it. Just too fun.
Oh, that's so silly.
Yep. So that's that game. What else did I see? Oh, Chronicles of Crime from what is it? Lucky.
Oh yeah. The AR game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
This looks really neat. It almost, to me, I know you guys are Time Story fans, but to me, after looking at it and seeing the different stuff and talking, Chaz actually did the VR part of it, and
nice.
He's looking around and he finds a dead body on the ground, right? So it almost felt to me like this is what Time Stories should have been, is how it came across to me, and I'm super excited to try this game. So, and it's on Kickstarter, or it's just finished on Kickstarter, I can't remember, but it definitely has my attention, and I'm very excited. I feel like there's a bunch of crime-driven type games this year, right? That there's 3 or 4, I think, are coming out. So it's kind of a new push to let's do more crime-driven games. So that was also very interesting. It just sounds really cool, and the game and what's cool also is that you can just jump into the game. You learn the game as you go, and you just quickly jump in and start going, which is I really liked as well. But yeah, those were the ones that kind of stood out because, again, I didn't have tons of time. Obviously, the ones from Passport because I got to actually play.
Right.
So that was a big plus. Winter Forge, I can't recommend that enough.
Did you guys ever watch Homestar Runner when it was big, the website?
No. What?
They're failing. Chat's talking like crazy about the Trogdor board game.
Oh yeah.
The guys who did Homestar Runner are basically showed off a prototype of their Trogdor game that they're coming out with, and Homestar Runner is basically like this crazy like Flash cartoon that was out. Was it like was it late 90s or like early 2000s? It was huge. Like everybody on the internet was all about it, and yeah, it looks funny because Trogdor is like the dragon that goes around burning up the peasants and the thatch roof cottages, and lots of internet memes as far as like people that know about Homestar Runner. But yeah, a lot of people on Twitter were excited about that today when he showed that, which is pretty funny.
And then I got to talk to Bezier Games, right, and look at the legacy version of Werewolf, right?
Oh, you got to look at it. Ooh, nice.
I got to look at it. And it's in prototype form still, right? But you can see what they have going there. And I've never been like a huge Werewolf fan. I'm like, yeah, I'll play. It's just
I saw from your thing that you didn't like social manipulation. I'm like, Mark,
I know, right?
I thought you were with us on the deception train. we're huge into the whole.
It depends on the game, right? It's not one of my top favorites, but in general, I play Werewolf. It's again not top of my list, but this. It definitely has my interest. It looks really neat how it can have an ongoing thing, and you can swap players in and out if need be. Definitely. So watch for that episode when it goes up. I got to talk to them and get kind of a quick preview of it.
Oh, nice.
So that was pretty cool.
I bet at conventions that thing will just like they'll crack open Werewolf Legacy and just play through the whole thing. Because I mean, at conventions there's literally just like corners of the convention that all people do the whole time. Is just play Werewolf. They just like Werewolf game after Werewolf game after Werewolf game after Werewolf game. So I bet you there'll be sections where they're like, hey, sign up, we're cracking Werewolf Legacy, we're playing through the whole thing.
Right.
And that'll just be someone's con. They played Werewolf Legacy. That's what they did.
Yeah.
Yep. So those are the ones that stood out, like that I can just think of right now, top of my head. I feel like there's something I'm missing. Oh, you know what? Our preview just went up today, or yesterday, today. Kickstarter game from a new company, Forbidden Games, Railroad Rivals. I really like this little game. I think it's going to be a really decent little gateway game, but they were showing it at Gamma as well. I think this is a really neat little, with enough going on that you can get new people and gamers alike really kind of enjoying just as a fun little game. So I'm excited about that one as well. I hope it fully gets funded because I think it definitely is deserving.
Gotcha.
And so that was fun. And of course, Druid City Games was showing Sorcerer City there. If you're keeping tabs on that Kickstarter, there are tons of stuff. He's exploding. He's blown through stretch goals and so forth. Nice. So yeah, and that game is pretty fun. If you like tiling games, that is. I really enjoyed it. You're building out cities, and it's timed. And I think one of the interesting things is that people are really glommed onto this timed thing, and it's really not that big a deal. It's 2 minutes. It sounds like it's short, but when you play, you're like, oh, there's still time left. This was good. You can build out your city in 2 minutes, and you're trying to get, different based on different things in the game. You're trying to just get more points and so forth and how you build your city, and you get more tiles. You can get stuff from the marketplace, and the monsters come into your city, and you have to deal with what they do. And as you go later in the game, those later rounds, then that time pressure really starts to ramp up, which is pretty fun. So Druid City, you definitely keep an eye on that one from them. But I wish there was. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting. It'll come to me as soon as we finish tonight, and I'll be like, oh no! But yeah, so those were just some of the ones that like I said, this Court of the Dead, I'm super excited to play. Just getting a preview of it and seeing what is all involved, and I'm really excited to jump into the rules and see how it plays.
Nice.
So that was probably my number one game that I'm just super excited for.
Sweet. So you've done reviews on the Dice Tower for a long time, but here recently you've been switching over to mostly doing like previews and stuff. So tell us a little bit about your role in doing the previews on the Dice Tower network.
Yeah, so at the risk of having too much information, I'll try to keep it short. But last year, I had my day job of 20 years. I was let go, and it was right around GenCon time. And so Tom and I were talking at GenCon, and said he was talking about thinking about resurrecting the whole, Kickstarter preview videos and stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't have a job, so that could really help me out. And so fast forward to today, we've got like 20 or so under our belt now, and I'm saying yes to a big assortment of different types. In a year from now, we might be a little more choosy, just after we built a library of things. But it's been really interesting, because what we're trying to do, some of the games are super easy to kind of just tell you how to play them. But really my goal is to make these videos to be super conversational, as if you sat down with us and we're just telling you about the game. We're trying to give you a flavor. We're not here to teach you the game. We're here to just give you a flavor, a touch of it. See if it's something that might spark your interest. And if it does, then I'm sure they'd appreciate your support, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And Randy and I really look for at least one thing that we like about each of these games, right? It's not that we're recommending the game, but there was this one artwork or this one mechanic or this one component that we really enjoyed about the game. And we're definitely trying to be super genuine about that. We aren't going to just tell you something we like when we don't like it.
Yeah.
But we definitely are each of us are looking for one point to make in the end, that, hey, I really like this one thing, and if this looks like something you might enjoy, they'd appreciate your support. So it is very different than doing reviews, because we're not rating them. We're not trying to get you to back it or whatever. We're just simply showing you the game.
Yeah.
And we might dive pretty deep into some rules, and we might just gloss over some others. Things that, we might find interesting is where we might dive deep. And if the game is small enough, then we might dive deep into all of it, because there's plenty of time to do so. But really the goal is to make it an overview, just to give you that flavor, that touch of the game. And so far it's been pretty well received. We've had a super huge range of different types of games. I mean, we even did a little card game that was a charades type game, just so it would have something completely different right in there. But it's really been fun, because you would think, oh, you got to play a lot of prototypes, some really bad games. No, in general, the games they've been, oh, okay, that was pretty good, or that was okay. And it's still been an enjoyable experience, even if there's like, what were they thinking? And of course, everything's in like, early prototypes. Rules are still in flux. So that's a big part. That's probably the biggest challenge doing these videos, is that
I've done a couple previews before, and the rules and flux thing has been like,
because you'll film it and then they'll send you a new version. I said, sorry, we've already filmed it, or we're already in the middle of filming. And that's why we're really clear up front that, hey folks, this is a prototype. Everything you see here might be in flux, so the rules still might be changing. So that's something we're very, 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 very clear about. We don't want to ever mislead anybody. This is exactly how you play. No. So it's definitely been a challenge with the rule books. I think that's probably the biggest challenge of it. And for the most part, I've been really pleased with how even the really smallest of publishers are really going that extra mile to provide a prototype that is camera worthy.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it helps sell the game as well, too,
Yeah, exactly. So that's been a really nice added benefit. One of the things I was most worried about starting this was that, am I going to get stuff like pencil and paper? I mean, we can't show that on camera. But no, people have been really respectful about that, and how
in this day and age, it's so easy to make a really nice looking prototype. Just a little bit of Photoshop, and there's so many websites you can go to get stuff printed out. So.
And it makes such a huge difference in the presentation, right? So, and the other nice thing about getting stuff early, and even if it's in the middle of the campaign, is there a lot of receptiveness to, hey, we played this, you might try some of this, you might try some of that, and people are like, oh, yeah, we'll change that in the rule book, or we'll consider that, and that's a great idea, so we actually get to contribute a little bit here and there. So that's pretty fun as well.
Gotcha. So do you have to take a completely different approach when doing these Kickstarter previews as opposed to doing your normal reviews?
Yeah. So, the thing about the previews too is that we play the game at least twice, maybe 3 times. And when we do reviews, I insist on playing 3 to 5 times, and I'm looking for deep strategies, right? And things that we can really discuss. And we look for some of that too for the previews. But again, it's more of this umbrella. We're giving you this umbrella view, like a shotgun view. This is the game, And with reviews,
you'd be like, "Oh, there's this thing and that thing and that thing and this thing," and
right.
Man,
and you might,
I love this part, I love that part, as opposed to where in a preview you're gonna be like, "This is the game."
This is the game. And the other thing we try to do, we stay away from, is like in a review, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, this mechanic works kind of like it does in Pandemic or some other game," and we really actively try to avoid comparing these preview games to other games because we want them to just stand as their own. We don't want to interject other games into the thought process and make you think. And we don't want people to think, oh, he said it's like Pandemic. No, we're not going to say, So we really try to actively do that. And when we're talking about the game, we really just try to give you that, like I said, that overview. So Randy and I will actually have the manual in hand, and we'll just kind of talk through it together.
Gotcha.
And it works pretty well, I think. And we've had some feedback on some folks want to actually see what a turn looks like, but that's not really what these games were really aiming for, because the publishers have all made videos show you how the game plays. Ours is just, we're there to give you a flavor, right? We want to give you a sense of the game. We're not there to teach you the game. So
and a little bit to like help bring it to a broader audience of people that might not have known about the game as well. So it's like, hey, this is a game that we're doing a preview for. Now more people can get eyes on it and see the game, and maybe if they watch the preview and it looks like something they're interested in, they can know about the Kickstarter, which they might not have known anything about if you guys didn't do a preview for it. So
yep, and that's exactly my goal. And I think we've been pretty successful in helping like the little guy out, because we've had a lot of little publishers, self-published games, folks of that nature who may not have had, any opportunity to be in the limelight, right? And this gives them their moment. And we hope that we always try to be very up. We're not necessarily saying we're super excited about this game. It's more, hey, we love gaming, and here's another opportunity for you to check out a new game. It's that kind of excitement. We want just the love of gaming to come across in these previews. So that's kind of in the nutshell. So yeah, and they've been a really, really enjoyable to do. And I've been able to incorporate both Anne and Randy into these. And it's fun because we have a whole schedule. We know, we literally know what we're working on up into like the middle of April and a little bit into May already.
Yeah.
So it's pretty nice, and publishers again have been really open to understanding, because it's the Dice Tower. Our queue of games is fairly large, and the prototypes have to stay with us for some time, up right to the campaign time. So it's not one of those things you get it in, you shove it off to the next guy. We really need it through the entire process.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the most part, you don't even want to be. I mean, you want to learn the game and play the game, but you don't want to necessarily shoot it until right before the campaign because what if a rule changes? So.
Exactly. We've gotten stuff, like 4, 5, 6 versions of the rules that, and we usually film, 3 to 5 days before the campaign. Mm-hmm. And so, we're always playing probably 2 weeks before the campaign and then filming maybe that following weekend. So, and the campaign might be Monday or Tuesday of that next week. So things are scheduled pretty tight. Mm-hmm. So if things falter in the schedule and stuff, people push their game out further, it definitely throws a wrinkle in the mix. But, it happens with Kickstarter games, and things don't always arrive for folks on time. So they got to adjust their dates and so forth. And, of all the games, people always ask me, what's been my favorite so far, right? So far, The Reckoners has been my favorite. from Nauvoo Games, and it's based on this Brandon Sanderson novels called The Reckoners.
Oh, nice.
And these books are really interesting. It's all about how the normal people are getting superpowers, and it appears that everyone who has gotten superpowers has turned evil. So there are no good superheroes. And there's regular humans who are called the Reckoners that are using tech and researching these epics is what they're called. Not superheroes, but they're called epics. And they're researching them to find out their weaknesses. And the board game is exactly that. It captures the thematic essence of this book, or these books. And they did a really good job doing that. And they've got all these really cool 3D trays, really a lot of miniatures and big dice. So there's ways to mitigate dice rolls. Yes, there are. It's a cooperative game. And I think so far that's been my favorite of the bunch. It's just been big and flashy and really, really fun. It has that, if you like cooperative games where super puzzly, and you all are like, oh, let's take care of that, and then suddenly you realize, oh man, we should have been taking care of that over there, we got to go. It's that kind of moment in those games, and there's enough going on that there's lots of replayability, and you never know what actions that you're going to actually have available based on your dice rolls. And it has a bit of that King of Tokyo thing where you roll the dice, I'm going to keep one and roll the next two to see what else I get, and so forth. There are some ways with some equipment to mitigate dice rolls and such, but it really is that cooperative. Hey, okay, I can do this turn. What about you? And you kind of work together to see what the best path is. And I really like that interaction in cooperative games, right? So this one really, really works for me, and it's super thematic and rich with themes. So again, it works in my favor. But yeah, so far that's probably been my favorite.
Nice. So I know you do a lot of video editing and things like that with your videos. Is there anything specific in the editing you do for your preview videos?
We have come up with a little bit different format, right? How we film them, how we shoot them. Before we had like with reviews, things are maybe a little more scripted. This is more off. These again, I want them to feel more conversational, so they're more off the hip. And as far as doing effects and things, we haven't done a lot of effects for these videos, but there's some things I have ideas and things in the works that I might try in the future. So, but we do
boot up that After Effects. No, I'm just kidding.
Boot up that exactly. So I'm all about that actually. But when I do any of these previews on my own without my co-hosts, I have some new ideas of how I'm going to do those. So,
are you going to CGI the co-hosts in?
That would be fun, actually. Actually, I do. Chaz and I have been talking about maybe getting together, having him come out and maybe work on a couple of the previews with me. So
you could get a mannequin that you just put in one of those like green suits, and put it sitting there, and then just superimpose your co-hosts over top of it.
That would be awesome. So yeah, there hasn't been any like specific special effects, right? But we're always doing some really. I always try to have real high-end like B-roll, and we never are doing that. Talking about the game and showing it at the same time, like playing it out in front of you. It's always prepared comments that Randy and I can bounce off of each other and just make it that conversation. And then we go back, so what I do is we do the conversation, we kind of talk about the game in general, and then I edit all that, and then I make a shot list based on what we're talking about, and then I go back and shoot the B-roll and lay it over the top of us talking.
Oh, nice.
So what's nice about that is that however we take the conversation, I'm not stuck because, I already did this B-roll. The B-roll always comes after we do our talky bits.
Gotcha.
So it's been a really nice way to do these videos. And it, like I said, I really wanted to feel like, hey, you sat down with us and we're just telling you about this game, kind of thing.
Awesome. Yeah. So Matt, do you have any thoughts about like Kickstarter previews or any questions you want to ask Mark about?
You put me on the spot, really.
I'm sorry. I was just I don't want Matt to be left out of the conversation.
It's okay. I've been over here looking at game inserts and watching chat. So
hey, Mark knows all about the game inserts.
Inserts, man. I'm all about game inserts.
There's a Kickstarter for like the dataless Kickstart inserts. Do you have any experience with them?
Sorry, dataless is.
You're actually asking the right person.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
So I do a segment on Blender called Thinking Inside the Box, and I look at a lot of different inserts. And dataless, they do an amazing work. And all their stuff comes pre-stained, just beautiful and really innovative. And the cool thing about them and there's really like the main three. Well, four. It depends on the type of insert you're looking for. If you're looking for foam core, Robert Searing is #1, the way to go. He does a fantastic job with those foam core inserts. But dataless and Broken Token and Meeple Realty, those are the three main wooden guys. And there's some others that really do some nice things. But what I like about Meeple Realty, though, is they do some really super innovative, like almost puzzle box things sometimes. And it just really is super cool. Just a lot of fun.
Dataless's thing is that their stuff's like pre-stained most of the time, right? And most of the other guys don't do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I love that because I'm in the middle. I built the Zaya insert, which is probably my favorite insert to date. And I'm staining it like Zaya colors. I've got orange and blue, and it's really, really cool. But having stuff already stained and done, a big thumbs up for that, because I just like painting miniatures, Roy. It's not really highly in my thing to do, right? But I love that they're just pretty much finished. You just put a little glue, put them together, and I've got a whole kit now, right? Because I build so many inserts. I got my own little personal Dremel for these things.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I got the crazy little saw blades you can put on the Dremel for trimming stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, and it really makes a big difference actually for building these things and rapidly building them, because usually I don't have a lot of time and I can't spend like a couple days building this thing. I got to build it quick so I can show it and test it out in the box and see how everything fits. So, do I have a favorite? I don't know if I have a favorite. I don't think I have a favorite company. I like what they're all doing. I love that they're being super innovative. I love that Robert Searing is doing his stuff, because a lot of people don't like the weight the wood adds to their boxes and so forth. So it's an amazing option, right? If you just want a light insert that still keeps your game super organized. And that's the #1 thing I look for, right? Is, can I open this box up and pull everything out and everything is super accessible to everybody right now and ready to go? That's the kind of insert that grabs my attention and I want to show off, right?
It actually makes setup for the game easier.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the way they should be, right? It shouldn't be like, oh, now I got to pull this apart and find what I need to find.
It's a puzzle to take it out of the box and a puzzle to put it back in.
Yeah.
It's the game within a game.
Yeah, exactly. So, all those guys are doing a really nice job with making it that kind of modular system, and that's really the key. And Daedalus just does beautiful work across the board.
Does Daedalus have a new Rising Sun one or whatever that's on that Kickstarter?
That was literally why I was looking at it. I was like, hey.
Yep.
I think I saw some pictures of that, but like they weren't like, I haven't seen it like in detail or anything like that. And I'm like, man, that'd be awesome. My Rising Sun is literally just like all in Ziploc bags thrown in one box. What then?
Yeah. I'm going to talk to him about doing featuring that Rising Sun one, because I think there's enough interest there. People really want to see it. So I'm definitely going to feature that one on Blender. I got to talk to him.
It's going to be a huge one, because I mean, so many people back that Kickstarter and so many people have the game, and those plastic trays are super. Like, speaking of making the game accessible to take out and put back, the fact that all the Kickstarter stuff is like in one box, and like you would normally keep that stuff in the regular box with the rest of the stuff, but you're not gonna like take all the stuff apart and put it back in that box. Like, what's going on?
Right? Yeah.
So
I so wish Kickstarters would be like, hey guys, we're doing a Kickstarter, we're adding stuff to the additional Kickstarter, but as part of the Kickstarter, if we hit this stretch goal, we'll give you just a big old box to put all this stuff in.
And that's what I felt like the Daimyo thing was going to be, is like, oh, it's an extra box, but it was really just a box that they had the extra stuff in, and it was kind of like made it hard to, like, you don't want to have 37 boxes, you know?
Exactly.
It's like the same thing with Giant Killer Robots, but I can't really say much about that box because it's huge. So
Giant Killer Box.
Right. They couldn't really get any bigger without it being like, okay, this is going to be a problem. So,
yeah, and in chat, we're talking a little bit about the Xi insert here, and I do have to say that the Xi insert is really well done, but it is also one of the more challenging inserts to build. So, if you haven't ever built one of these inserts, it's definitely a step up from like the basic ones.
So you need like an engineering degree or
no, nothing
masters
like
in
that.
engineering? No.
Instructions are super clear and all that. It's just a little more work than some of the basic models.
So I was a signing specialist at Target for many years, and I put together all sorts of crazy boxes. Does that qualify as enough experience to put
absolutely.
Matt knows where I'm coming from, right, Matt?
Yeah, man. Given how little instruction you're given on how to put those things together, absolutely.
And that's the thing that all the insert companies that you have to build, they've all done a really nice job with these building manuals, as opposed to a lot of board game manuals that are not so great. The insert guys have definitely done a good job with their manuals.
It's probably because they're actually board game players and they know the perils,
right?
of terrible instructions.
So, but yeah, I love doing that segment because I am such a component freak and organization freak for this stuff. Yeah, it's right up my alley.
Especially like these bigger games I've been getting in, like, I really don't care how Deception sort of looks in the box, or stuff like that, because it's like, well, it's it's cards, it's
falling out all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, like, so, but you get things like Rising Sun, and then all these Kickstarters are coming in, and it's just more boxes and more stuff, and I'm just sitting here going, man, I was having trouble just organizing like a regular site.
Right.
Like, what is happening in my life? I don't know. And like, I don't know if you guys can see it, but over behind my stack of games, there's just cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
Those start from the floor and go up. Those are the first 12 expansions for Kingdom Death. They came in yesterday.
That's insane.
Hey, Matt, when are you going to let me assemble some Kingdom Death for you so you can eventually play it?
Man, look, let's take a week, right? Because I'm assuming that's what it's going to take.
Hey, when's that random week you had off, or that time you had off? You should just come over.
Literally, it's literally this weekend.
Cool. Let's build some Kingdom Death. Let's do it.
That would be awesome. I was
planning on making some cheesecakes and painting, but if I have downtime, absolutely.
Hey, let me know because I'll stock up on some super glue.
Yeah, man. I think all I have is wood glue, so that's not gonna cut it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Got these like frumpy little like things like, hey, you're like, oh no.
Kingdom Death looks like death.
Death. Have you played at all yet?
Nope.
See, Matt acquires games.
It got here, and I went, cool. I can play this one day when I assemble the 4 generic starters and the lion. And then pulled out that giant like packet of sprues and was like,
insane.
I don't even know where they are in this thing.
Man, I used to have like a sprue snipper thing. I wonder what happened to it.
I think Hector has one. I'll see what he's up to.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just have like a big assembly painty day.
Assembly painty day.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'd love to play that game, but man, the assembly is insane.
Well, for me, the price point is insane.
If I ever get it assembled, and we're going to be at a con somewhere, I'll bring it. And
okay.
Assuming it's a con where we can actually play games,
right?
We can play it.
All right, I'll hold you to that.
Dice Tower Con. Dice Tower Con. That's a con you can play.
Dice Tower Con. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. So I just have to assemble it before July.
You just have to get 4 people assembled before July.
Now you have a time frame.
Now I got something to work for.
That's right. That would be awesome. I'd be totally down for that.
Yes.
Nice.
Because I do really want to play it. I'm just intimidated heavily.
Yeah. I can understand why. I've seen the sheets of models that need to be. That's just insane. My friend who actually is the designer of Walk the Plank, Shane, he is totally went all in on it, and he was showing me all the different things, and I'm like, what is going on?
It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
That's the thing that kills me, is I was like, okay, cool, I got this really big box, it weighs like 17 pounds, and then I'm just slated to get deliveries until the other side of 2020.
Right.
Like, there's so much stuff.
Insane.
Oh, God. Hopefully it's fun.
I hope so.
I've heard great things. Stephen Avery said it was fun. I don't know if that means it's fun or not, but he said it was pretty good.
I don't know if you can believe that guy.
I guess my role model.
Dude, he better be going to... I'm sure he'll be at CMON Expo, but he better be going to DiceTowerCon too. So, anyway.
Yeah, he better be.
Yeah.
Awesome. So one last question. If you could play a board game with anyone who has ever lived or any fictional character, who would it be and what would you play? I left it wide open.
It's interesting.
Wide open.
Would it be?
And we're not going to judge you or psychoanalyze you by your picks at all.
Oh, man. I can think of like several. Just to pick one. That's the problem, right? I think it would be really interesting, the fictional character, to play board games with Doc Brown from Back to the Future. He would be all over the board. It would be a blast.
What kind of game would you play with Doc Brown, though?
Oh, that's a good question, too. I don't know. Let's see. What would we throw at him? We'd have to do something.
Just play Time Stories with Doc Brown. It would be great.
Yeah. I think that could be pretty entertaining, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think he'd be a really fun fictional character to play games with. Just because he's like all over the place all the time, right? I think it'd be really fun. How about you guys? Who would you pick?
Oh, man. Now all I'm thinking about is Doc Brown, though.
That Doc Brown, though.
Like, could you imagine playing, like, Rhino Heroes Super Battle with him? Like, that would be great.
I got it.
So good.
I want to play War of the Ring with Aragorn.
Oh.
In bag in. Let's
that
do
would
it.
be amazing. I'm down. I'm there. Absolutely.
Oh, man.
But then I guess I'd have to be the Sauron player. That would be lame.
It would be lame. But you would have to be. It would have to be that way.
Yeah, I mean, you can give him an opportunity to, let off some steam, be the dark side, kill all his
dark
side.
He's never going to see it coming when I use Paths of the Dead card and move Aragorn through there.
That's awesome. Come on, Matt. Who would you pick?
I'm trying to think of, I've been listening to the Hamilton Broadway musical a lot recently, so I'm thinking maybe just Alexander Hamilton, but I'm trying to think of a good economic game that I like.
Yes. You're going to play Istanbul with Alexander Hamilton?
I don't know. Either that or you just throw him into something.
You can play Stockpile.
Super crazy. He could.
You can play Stockpile with him. That's a great game.
You know what? I think I'll just go with Century Spice Road because I don't have to worry about catching him up on anything. I'm like, hey man, this makes 2 cubes, that makes 2 cubes. You do this, easy peasy.
That's true.
Go.
That's
and then he'll just be like, all right.
That's awesome.
I
think that's who I would go with right now. It'll probably be different.
So,
but,
one of the games I'm actually hoping to play, this is actually a real thing. So, they did the Kickstarter for the Warehouse 13 game, right? And my girls and I, when my girls were growing up, that was the show, the family, all watched every week. Nice. And in the mix of watching that show, my oldest daughter was real sick, and as she got close to her 16th birthday, I started reaching out to these different actors and saying, hey, I'm trying to do this special video and do something cool for my daughter Shelby. And so what turned out, I got a ton of actors of her favorite shows to jump in and do videos for her, including Eddie McClintock, who now has become an acquaintance and him and I chat every now and then. And so I suspect, because I'm doing the show now and all this stuff, that at some point I'm going to get to sit down with Eddie and play the Warehouse 13 game. I think it'd be a great episode. And, yeah. So I think that'd be really fun. So we'll probably sync up at some convention somewhere and do that. That'd be really a fun time. So I think that might actually happen.
Oh, man. Adam's going real hard in chat there.
That is a little bit... Wait, let me unmod him so I can... That would be a completely different game, by the way, because we wouldn't be playing the game. We'd be playing the execution. No, I'm just kidding.
Execution, right?
We're just trying to subtly murder a guy. The real deduction again.
Epic Gaming Night After Dark. Anyway,
man, you know what? That would make a fun little video, right? Like a parody video.
Yeah.
You're sitting around playing Secret Hitler with Hitler, but the impetus is it's some sort of Devil Went Down to Georgia thing where it's whoever actually is Secret Hitler if he wins, Hitler's consciousness transfers into the body of that person. So everybody's like, no, we
never thought of a reason to end my life faster.
This man needs to stay dead.
Playing a game that I hate with outcome that I hate.
Well, to be fair, I don't think anybody is really keen on that outcome.
I hope not. Dear Lord.
Any semblance of logic.
Who do you think you guys? Who do you think Rob would pick for that question?
Oh man, is Rob in chat? He'd probably want to play some Twilight game with Edward Cullen. No, I'm just kidding.
Boy,
say the answer that'll make him mad at me.
Oh man,
he really likes Harry Potter.
Oh,
the new Harry Potter miniatures game.
He's been talking about that game a lot
with Harry Potter. I don't know who's the best character out of Harry Potter.
Depends on who you are, right? I mean,
I don't know.
There's lots of different reasons to like different characters in the series, but
nice.
I don't know. I could see my my girls picking, like Hermione to play games with or something like that.
Yeah.
They were huge Harry Potter fans.
I feel like it would be Risk, whatever the game, like whatever the person is. I feel like the game would still be Risk.
Nice.
Just because that's sort of raw.
He actually recently told me he's cooled on Risk a lot. So I'm like, it's crazy because he's all about the Risk when we first started the podcast.
Yeah.
So. Oh, I agree. Of the Harry Potter characters, I would definitely play Luna Lovegood. That'd be hilarious. I think she would just be all over the place.
Yeah, dude, her or Tonks, I feel like.
Yeah, right?
Very strong female archetypes that can just get stuff done. Yeah.
Yep. It'd be really fun.
Nice.
Cool.
I like how we're interviewing Mark, but Mark's asking the questions that are like actually
thought-provoking.
Just like, hang on, I need to think about this for a minute. I sit down, stroke my beard, because supposedly that helps with extra mental. I don't know.
Nice. Well, I guess we'll end this thing out. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Mark. If anybody wants to find your stuff or would like to reach out to you, where can they see your stuff and get in contact?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me all over Twitter. That's where I primarily post. And that's just Board Game Corner. Instagram is BG Corner because I couldn't get Board Game Corner. Super annoying. So Instagram, we're there off and on. And Facebook, we're there as well. You can definitely find me, all our stuff. Pretty much every video we do goes on the Dice Tower. Not quite everything. We do have a Board Game Corner channel. You can check it periodically. We don't post a lot there, but we're going to be doing some live streaming, probably more after our experiment with the Reckoners. That worked really, really well and was well received. So I think we'll probably do more of that. And there is the Board Game Corner podcast, which is super sporadic. We are not regular by any means. However, my podcast co-host, who is Ben, he is also working for the new streaming service Caffeine, and we think we're going to maybe, since he works there, move the podcast to there.
Oh, nice.
and play around with Caffeine in the stream and see how well that goes. I think that's going to be pretty interesting. We might do some more stuff with Caffeine as well. So I'm looking forward to trying that out. The chat is the thing about Caffeine that's cool is that the chat is super instantaneous. You get immediate feedback. There's not a delay like we see in YouTube or Twitch.
Yeah.
It's cut way back. I mean, you really can respond almost in real time. So I'm looking forward to trying that out and seeing how that goes. So you can find stuff there. And if you want to reach out to me for the Dice Tower previews, if you're a Kickstarter guy and you have something you want me to look at and consider for previews, I have a shiny new email address. It's mark@dicetower.com. So, and if you just want to email me, feel free.
Nice.
Sometimes things are pretty crazy and busy, so feel free to email me, but I may not respond right away. So,
awesome.
that's kind of, yeah.
We stream these Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at youtube.com/Epic Gaming Night. We want to say thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons who help support us on Patreon. If you'd like to support Epic Gaming Night, make sure to check it out at patreon.com/Epic Gaming Night. We had an awesome patron hangout episode last week, and it was definitely a lot of fun, and we're definitely going to be having more of those soon so we can talk to more of our amazing patrons. So thank you so much for all the support there. And also, I do want to make a reminder for our Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea giveaway. If you haven't checked it out, the link in the description or the link in the show notes yet, make sure to check that out because we want everybody to have a chance. And so go check that stuff out, and also make sure to hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at Epic Gaming Night, checking out all of our Favorite Game Friday and all of our different posts there as well.
Awesome.
Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, Mark. It's definitely been a blast.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Really enjoy being on your show, and hit me up anytime. It's I love being here. So
nice. And next week we're gonna have a special guest. Robert Newman is gonna be on the show. We've missed Rob a ton, so we're definitely going to be excited for him to come back. He's been out of town with family stuff, so come back, Rob. We need you. He said that having Mark on the chat was an act of adultery. So sorry, Rob.
That's how it goes, Rob. You missed out, man.
Awesome, guys. Well, until next podcast, we'll see you then.
Later.
Peace.
Goodbye.